I have an article here from BindingTheComics.com. Percy Jackson writer Rick Riordan claims race replacing characters in Disney Plus series was so that, quote, everyone could look at this series and see themselves, unquote. He was speaking with Entertainment Weekly to promote the upcoming Disney Plus series. Riordan explained why he decided to make the cast of the show more diverse. He basically said his son had dyslexia, ADHD, struggled in school, and so on and such forth. So he wanted to create, something that would reaching. Greek mythology was what he was really into. That's what he wanted to do. Here's some character art for the series, by the way. And it goes on and it talks about the article here says that the entire narrative is not past the sniff test because if you really wanted the characters to be represented via race, all the characters need to be shapeshifters. Because white girls are no longer represented through Annabeth Chase. None of the main characters are black males. Where's their representation? How can anyone truly be represented if they did not cast actors that look exactly like everyone? It's a whole lot of gobbledygook when you actually examine artificial comments like the ones Gordon made. Then his wife had talked about, does it help to know that when the characters were created in 2002 that the expectation of publishing was a white default? Her perceived whiteness in the books, the default skin color, hair color is not meaningful to their character. And she also talked about one of the reasons I love this fandom so much is because they could see beyond the mainstream expectations and see themselves. The characters belong to all the fans, not just the white fans. See, and that's one of the problems that so much have is that they put, or that a lot of the more current mainstream writing people and stuff, they put so much emphasis on the character's skin color or gender. They gotta look just like you, or else you can't identify with them, which goes against the very nature of writing, because there's a whole bunch of commonalities among people. Sure, we have differences and stuff, of course we do. I mean, there's 100 things that are different about people, but there's also 1,000 things that are similar. That have nothing to do with skin color, it has to do with or gender or religion, sexuality, etc. It has to do with your beliefs. For instance, I would say, I want to say all people, but I guess, you never truly should say all people, but the vast majority of people are against murder. They're against, sexual assault. They're against pedophilia. They're against this. They're against that. All this other stuff. I would say pretty much everybody's against that. Okay, that's a lot of stuff in common. Also, you care about your kids, or care about your wife, your husband, care about your grandkids, you care about your grandparents, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, etc. You care about your family, you care about your friends. If they're in danger, you're going to do what you can to help them. That kind of stuff. All that is very common among every group, regardless of any of that stuff, regardless of your religion, your sexuality, your gender, your race, all that stuff. And the article goes on and on. And I'll link this in the description box. You can read it for yourself. They talk about the inclusion standards and yada yada yada. They give some other examples. Basically they want to talk about how it says on top of these quotes, casting directors have begun openly admitting they are race replacing and gender replacing characters for ideological purposes. Along those lines, at a screenshot from a tweet, Box Office Mexico, controversy begins. Nico Parker, who will play Astrid in the How to Train Your Dragon live action. Not exactly the same, but anyway. But, I mean, close enough, I suppose, for some people. Confirms that the cast will be diverse despite occurring in the Vikings era in Scandinavia to move away from, quote, Viking stereotypes. I mean, what the hell? What the hell is Viking stereotypes? That they're all blonde haired, that they're all white. Is that the stereotype? I mean, what are we doing here? Seriously. And it goes on. The article continues. It's a long, long article. I mean, I'd recommend reading if you're interested. If not, okay, I understand. But anyway, it goes on and it goes on and talks. Yada yada. I mean, some of the stuff does get a little, a little bit much. Basically, talking about Emily Goldstein at the Thought Catalog back in 2015 explained what the whole diverse ideology is really about. Shit, diversity is about getting rid of white people, and that's a good thing. I'm extremely glad that the white race is dying. You should be too. White people do not have a right to exist, period. It may sound like a bold statement, but it's entirely true. Any white person with even the faintest knowledge of history should curse themselves every single day for being white. Okay, it's taking a turn, But anyway, I mean, it's a crazy person who deserves to be put in a padded room. I think most people could agree with that, at least I would assume. That's the end of the article. like I said, I'll link it in the description box. You can read it for yourself. But it's not really the greatest of ways to end the video, I suppose. But I mean, it's in the article. And I wanted to at least mention it and stuff. Like I said, you can read it for yourself, read the entire context and stuff if you want. Like I said, I would recommend reading the article. It's a good article, I would say, for the most part. Do I agree with everything in there? Well, of course not. But at the same time, I mean, it's interesting, we'll say. And like I said, the whole Viking era thing, or the Viking stereotypes thing, is just stupid. The whole race swapping for the representation. I don't agree with that because I don't believe that it's actually important for adults. Like, to me, I think representation, you want to talk about, you need characters that look like you. I think that's fine for younger people. If you're a teenager, maybe young teenager, I should say, like a 13, 14-year-old maybe, that's starting to push it a little bit. But definitely if you're like 8, 10 years old, 6, whatever, I could absolutely see why representation would be important because your brain isn't fully developed. But by the time you become, certainly by the age of 16, if not earlier, at 13, 14, 15 or whatever, by the age of 16, your brain is not fully formed, of course, but it's formed enough to realize that, like I said, there are commonalities among humans. There's only one race, the human race, that kind of stuff. There are certain things that it's like everyone can relate to. It's not just skin color, it's not just gender, religion, sexuality. If you can't relate to things from people who don't look like you, I don't think that bodes well for who you are as a person. I don't think that speaks well to who you are as a person. That's just me. I'm not, I don't claim to speak for everybody. I speak for myself, and that's it. If others agree with me, cool. If others disagree with me, cool. I mean, hey, no big deal. We all have our own opinions. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. I don't understand this idea, this obsession that people have. Some people, a very few people, a vocal minority of people have with skin color, with gender, with religion, sexuality, all that, yada yada, all that stuff. I don't understand the obsession they have with it. Like it somehow makes things that's much more important. It might be part of who you are, but it's a small part. Like I'm talking like 1%, 2% at most. If your identity is tied up in something as superficial as your skin color, hey, man, I don't know. I don't think that speaks well to who you are as a person. But maybe that's a little harsh. I don't know. But anyway, I'm starting to ramble here, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Like I said, I'll link this in the description box if you want to read it for yourself. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good one.